There is one impediment to going digital, and that is fear of change. The cost to go digital is not insignificant. In fact, it's actually more burdensome on our great lab employees. Anyone that says it's more efficient in the lab space, they haven't done it, or at least I haven't seen it. Well, we have to find a way to cost share that burden because, again, most of the upside is with the pathologist in terms of increased efficiency. So to me, fear of change is that number one. And so if you don't get over that fear and say, hey, this is what I've always been paid and this is how it should work, then I don't think you'll get there intellectually because the cost is there.
Learn about the newest digital pathology trends in science and industry, meet the most interesting people in the niche, and gain insights relevant to your own projects. Here is where pathology meets computer science. You are listening to the Digital Pathology Podcast with your host, Dr. Alexandra Zhurov.
Welcome, my digital pathology trailblazers. Today I have a special episode because I very rarely have two guests at a time. True digital pathology implementers working digitally and advancing the digital pathology as a discipline actually across the US. I have Dr. Adam Cole, he's from TruCore Pathology Group, powered by PathNet, and I have Jason Camilletti, the CEO of PathNet Lab. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to be here.
I need to manage this conversation and ask exactly to which person I'm asking my question. So we always start with our guest. Adam, let's start with you. What's your background? What is your current role? Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Don't reveal the full story yet, because that's going to be our next question. There's an interesting story to this particular guest.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, my name is Adam Cole. I am an anatomic clinical pathologist. I am the founder of TruCore Pathology. Like you mentioned, fully digital. We'll get into that in a second. I'm also a colonel in the United States Air Force Reserve and the commander of the 446 AMDF up at Joint Base Lewis McChord.
Okay, so Jason, what about you?
Hi, Jason Camilletti. A lot of people call me Vasco. That is my call sign from when I was in the military. I've been the CEO of PathNet since summer of 2022. Now, August 1st to be specific. And prior to that, I was active duty Air Force for 23 years, career fighter pilot, moved all over. In fact, my last 4 years in the Air Force was serving in the United Kingdom, where I was the base commander of the largest U.S. fighter jet mission in all of Europe and Africa. So the natural progression from being a fighter jet pilot.
This would be a CEO of a digital pathology company, right?
And military base commander is to jump into digital pathology.
I got my plug in first before he got to say his. Mine doesn't sound really as impressive.
Oh my goodness. This is a very non-standard background.
Vasco and I have known each other, though, for 15 years. We were both captains together back in tropical Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico.
Sunny Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Right.
We were bedding down a fifth generation fighter called the F-22 Raptor. And I was the only captain flyer, and Epic was the only captain doctor. And there weren't many of us there, but we hit it off there despite each other. And
I'm in a movie. I feel like I'm watching Top Gun or something.
Well, my wife always tells me the movie's better than reality.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we've been good buds ever since. And I never thought I would get out of the military, but when the decision to leave the military was there for my family, Adam was one of the first people I reached out to, and before you know it, a couple of things bounced the right way, and here we are.
Before you press on that, I mean, the fact that his beautiful
keep
bride...
talking about it, because I'm not going to have this on the podcast ever again.
The fact that his wife, Meredith Camilletti, says, the movie is better than real life. And see, I'm a back theater guy, and in the movie, Goose died, and that's better than real life. So I don't know how to take that. Actually, Mary and I are gonna have to have a conversation. This is terrible. But yeah, this is all relevant to digital pathology as well. So we should
Doesn't
probably
matter.
dive more into this.
It's fun. We have I have a bunch of questions for you. So let me just tell you one thing. I once had Dr. David Clooney. He's the DICOM person in the medical society. He's a radiologist, and he has a helicopter. And I thought that was super cool. But you guys stopped his helicopter right now.
Crashed in a helicopter. I crashed out at Alamogordo. Like, we took an Army Air Huey down. It actually crashed with me in it.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Alex, I'm here to tell you a helicopter is an unnatural occurrence. That thing doesn't fly.
I'm gonna share this podcast with David Clooney. So then you guys can continue this conversation
that'd be great.
offline, especially
That'd
when
be
you want to integrate DICOM in your image sharing or everything. And you're gonna come across him if you haven't already.
Perfect.
It's gonna be a
Perfect.
good conversation starter. So okay, now focusing on Adam. When I was interviewing Dr. Matt Levitt, I learned about your early days. And I also learned that all the digital pathology people are interconnected. So he told me that you were providing pathology diagnostic services. You were traveling nonstop around Arkansas to read glass slide and sell that cases. And your main place where you were staying or traveling in was a van. Could you share that story with us? And how was it like to be such a mobile pathologist? I don't know. Tell me about it. Was it the mobile home? Did you sleep in there? Was it just your vehicle? How far did you have to travel? And how did this then maybe later motivate you to read a digital slide rather than glass if you want to serve more people than just one location?
You bet, Alexandra. Well, it sounds better when you say recreational vehicle, RV, and van.
Okay.
When I hear
Okay.
van, all I can think of is Chris Farley down by a river. But I was one step north of that. But it wasn't bad. So the deal was, I started TruCore in 2015 and had one client at Arkansas Urology, and one thing they asked me to help with was this is almost 10 years ago, and so the predictive and prognostic biomarker space was just kind of all over the board, just kind of getting its feet within prostate cancer and trying to identify these tests as far as who's going to be, who's appropriate for active surveillance or not. And so there's still the same three big players that there were at the time in the positive space. So Oncotype or GPS, Prolaris, and Decipher. And so they asked me just to kind of come up with a pathologist input and help on deciding on when these tests might be appropriate, so we weren't overutilizing the test. And so I did that. And then word kind of spread down to Dallas that, hey, this certifying was available. And so this is, like you mentioned, this is pre-digital. So twice a week, I was reading maybe one Monday, Wednesday, Friday in Little Rock, Tuesday, Thursday in Dallas. And then the next week I would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday in Dallas, Tuesday, Thursday in Little Rock, and just driving back.
So how far
and
away
forth.
were these places?
As a
How much?
I can tell you exactly. It's 5 hours.
Yes.
It's a 5-hour drive down there. So it was. I was sometimes down
every
there.
other day your commute was 5 hours.
Well, it would depend. Sometimes I
Mhm.
would fly in the middle of there, and so I would go down. If I was spending in Dallas, I would just drive the van down, the RV down there, and then I would spend kind of the week there. But I would fly in to Little Rock in the morning, drive over, read the cases on glass, and then get back on a flight, fly back to Dallas, then drive around Dallas, because there was 5 clinics in Dallas, all over Dallas. And so I would have to just kind of make that loop, driving to all the different clinics. There was a Tech 26 thing. So it was a PC split kind of deal. And, but I was trying to help the guys as well. It was beneficial for me. And we had maybe an idea where pathologists could help on the molecular side. And the urologists really liked it. And still do. They still like having pathologist input as far as, so we're not overutilizing those tests. But it didn't take long doing that, maybe a year, 18 months of doing that, where, man, I cannot keep doing this. This is a terrible lifestyle. So that's when the digital thing really kind of hit. And so we went fully digital in 2016. just really as a way, like I say, I always tell, I wish I had the vision or foresight to say that I could see, where digital pathology is going to take us from an AI standpoint and all of that. But at the time, I was just tired of traveling. I was lazy. So the guys,
This is a motivation good enough. And I mean, digitization is the first step. And if you have a strong driver of going digital, then you can like all do the downstream things without even knowing that they exist. So did you like this RV? Was it something like the American camper vans that you can sleep in, and you were using it as your like place of staying, and then driving to the clinic and then reading there?
Alex, it was not that nice. When he says
Oh,
a
not the
step
camper
up,
van, not the American camper van.
when he says a step up by from Valentine by the river, I mean we're talking a small step.
Do
You
you
gotta
have
remember.
pictures?
We could show you some
If
pictures.
you
The
have
reality,
pictures,
though, Alex, yeah.
use them. I'm gonna include them
Okay.
in the video if I can. That would be so cool.
When this was going on, we're on a text thread with a bunch of our fighter pilot buddies from Alamogordo, New Mexico, and it was one part sheer hilarity, just pure comedy, hearing his RV travel, and then the other part was like, man, he has some amazing pathways in exploring digital, breaking barriers in digital pathology. So that's the one thing, the enigma that is Adam Cole, like both hilarity and just pure brilliance.
I
No,
know.
I love
Like, can
that.
you imagine? Oh, my pathologist is the one. He sleeps in that RV.
Like Cousin Eddie, just one step above
Twinkle
Cousin
my
Eddie
love.
in National Lampoon's.
But see, 18 months of driving an RV and digital transformation happens. It was totally worth it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. I don't want to go back. Yeah,
No, just for recreation, not for work
that's
anymore.
right.
About TruCore and PathNet, your vision and mission for those two organizations. Let's talk about it right now. So, what drove you to start these companies, and how are they changing the game in digital pathology? And I would start with like, how are they different and similar and interconnected? Because we have Adam, your Pathcore, and Jason is PathNet Labs. How do you work together? You can pick who speaks first. Let's do maybe Jason, because Adam was.
Adam, do you want to go with how we got here, and I can say how we are existing
Sure.
today?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, when it's one person and you're just trying to kind of figure this out, what
You guys are the best. You like self-organize yourself.
It was
it's
not
great.
very organized. It was pretty rough there at the beginning. Because it literally was just me. And like you mentioned, I was driving around doing all these different things, and then we go fully digital. And so I was actually using a lab out in Lehigh, Utah. It was kind of our sister lab that was helping furnish me the digital technology piece. I didn't have a lab. I didn't have the scanners, and I didn't have any of that stuff at the time. And so, like you mentioned, Matt Levitt, I met Matt Levitt and his team at a conference up in Chicago. I saw what they were doing. And one, it was readily apparent that this is a better mousetrap for prostate cancer and preserving tissue and all the things. But it also got around a big issue with digital pathology, which is storage. And so if they were able to get 6 cores per slide and you only had 2 slides with 3 levels each, that's a big difference than having 12 slides, or if you
even without digital. So I'm gonna just interrupt. What we're talking here about is a little device, like a little cassette that at Lumia's product, where instead of putting one prostate biopsy core per slide and per block, you put 6 of them, right? So instead of having 6 slides to look at, you just have 1 slide with 6 pieces of tissue. So even in an RV, it's a lot less baggage to travel with if you do prostate.
Yeah, no, it was game changing from the digital. I mean, at the time, remember, these scanners were not GT450s either. Like, these were slow scanners. They were not high throughput. And so we've advanced a lot, on the scanner side as well, but it was taking so if you were doing 4 minutes per slide and you had 12 slides per case, I mean, that's almost crippling to the point where you can't use digital. And so being able to condense the number of slides you were scanning as well as the storage fees and everything like that was pretty monumental. So, I'm in Arkansas. And so at the time, started TruCore, which was a PLLC, remains a PLLC. So it's entirely 100% doctor owned. But then
meaning owned by you, right?
It is, but it's comprised of from the only people who are in TruCore are doctors, are pathologists. And so, but it's not long as you're growing and you realize, while you may be good at diagnosing cancer, you actually don't know the square root of zero when it comes to running a business and how to bill and collect and HR and all of the different.
Another learning curve. Yes.
You don't know any of that stuff, right? And so we really needed a management services organization, and that's what PathNet kind of provides, and the laboratory and all of that stuff. And so with that, I will kind of pass it over to Juanich Vasco.
Yeah, so on the MSO side, Matt Levitt's vision for PathNet is exactly what it says in the title, network of pathologists. The reality is while we believe TruCore is the best on planet Earth, we are willing to partner with others. And we have been talking to others, and we service some, in a limited capacity, but we continue to look for further partnerships. But the idea with PathNet is, we can, whether you're a single pathologist or a group of pathologists, we can help you go digital. Because the cost to go digital is not insignificant. Not everyone can afford one of those big scanners, et cetera, et cetera. Not everyone knows how to bill, go down the list. PathNet can provide the full array of those services.
Amazing. Okay, so are you because from my previous episodes and from talking to Matt, and I'm going to link to that episode as well for everybody who didn't listen to it. So would it be safe to say that PathNet is the kind of business support and digitization support for pathologists who work with you?
Not only would it be correct, you get the gold star. In fact, if you go to our website, we have PathNet has a website, TruCore has a website. On the PathNet website, it's going to say something along the lines of moving pathology forward with turnkey digital and business solution. So you nailed that. And then on the TruCore side, we get much more specific, arming physicians with precision medicine to personalize each patient journey. Again, that's what Adam and his doctors are focused on. And at PathNet, we certainly care about the patient. Look, leaving the military, I felt like I was doing something meaningful. And there were lots of job opportunities. And when the idea to come in here, partner with my buddy, to take the fight to cancer, man, that was an easy hook for me, So we, in both companies, both organizations, we care very much about delivering the best possible patient care to the patient and their families. But you see that distinction there, as you just said, Alex.
I very much believe that digital pathology is not just, a fancy way of doing pathology, but it increases access to care. So that kind of brings me to my next question. How are TruCore and PathNet using digital pathology to change patient care? And if you have any specific stories or outcomes that really highlight the difference you guys are making, because you are making a difference, let me know about these as well. I want to know how it affects patients, and especially already starting with you, Adam, driving all around to places that didn't have pathology services and now taking it into the digital world. Tell me about what it is,
that's a good point.
How you do it, and what's the scale.
That is a good point. Digital pathology is already saving lives, because if I was still doing that, the world would be -1 each epic coal. There's no way I could have kept doing this. But I will say, a big thing, to your point, as the population continues to age and we're doing more and more biopsies, the number of pathologists continues to dwindle. We're going to have to find ways to utilize
it's the coolest specialty.
You're preaching to the choir.
Right. And I only talk to pathologists who are pathologists. But like, it's cool.
But I'll tell you a quick story. So I was the first physician in the family. And so
Hmm.
my grandmother, bless her heart, Catherine Cole, up in Chillicothe, Missouri, when she found out her grandson was going to be a doctor, you've never seen anybody more proud. She was bragging to everyone. She told all of her friends at bingo, at church bingo, and like the whole, like everybody was excited that her grandson's going to be a doctor. And then the opposite of that, when I showed up and said, "Yeah, Grandma, and I think I'm going to be a pathologist," you've never seen anybody so crestfallen in your life. She was heartbroken. It was like, what am I going to tell everybody? Like, what do you mean? What are you going to tell everybody? Just tell them I'm a doctor. Yeah, but
Right?
you don't want to be a real
But I'm gonna
doctor?
ask what kind of doctor.
Yeah, that's right. Like an asterisk, a doctor. I was like, no, it's a real doctor, Grandma. But she was crestfallen. She's like, well, wait. Then there was like a spark of hope. She was like, well, are you going to be like Quincy MD? And it's like, no, I'm not going to be. I don't know who Quincy MD is, but it was a TV show
No.
on in the 70s where this old pathologist lived on a boat, same ago, but he would solve murders.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that was going to be okay. But me just being a regular pathologist, that was
The,
subpar for my grandma. But to your point, like I think it's a great specialty, and I think it's becoming more and more exciting, especially with quality of life. That's a big initiative for the younger generation. So
you know what? I didn't see it yet, but it kind of what I did. I'm a veterinary pathologist, and I went to vet school and decided, okay, let me work as a clinician as a vet for a couple of years before I do further education, do my PhD, and decide on a specialization.
well,
And yeah, 3 years in practice was enough to send me on the pathology. I briefly entertained doing horse medicine, but then I started my internship at the pathology department, and I called the horse clinic and I said, you know what? No, I'm not coming. I'm just staying in the
yeah,
pathology department.
I mean,
So,
those flies never complain. They're just sitting there ready
uh,
to be looked at, right? Nobody's getting a biopsy because they want a work note or anything. Like they're actually
yeah.
worried about something if they're getting a biopsy. But so to the point being, I lost my father to bladder cancer a little over 10 years ago, and so we've all like Vasco's big on pointing this out. If you haven't, you personally have not been touched by cancer, you can just guarantee you know someone who has been touched by cancer. So it's one of those deals where it's easy when we're in our little bubble, and we're seeing the same thing every day where it becomes a little bit routine. But to each one of those patients, right, it's not just you're affecting that patient, but it has a ripple effect to their family, the friends. So you are affecting family when you're rendering one of these diagnoses. And so the days from when they get that biopsy to when they get the report, those are long days. So one of the benefits, I think, of digital pathology that we're able to harness is we can decrease turnaround times. What I mean by like obviously we can look at several cores at a time. We have artificial intelligence, which we can talk about later, but then you can also a big piece. When we're digital, we're not necessarily always going into an office where there's a congregation of there's 9 pathologists with power. We're not all sitting together in 9, but we have access to all 9 all the time. So when I need another set of eyes, all I have to do is send out a text message to say, "Hey, can you guys look into this? I'd like to get your opinion on this case." And then everybody can kind of log in. We can look at it all real time, and then we can come up with a consensus diagnosis to include even outside that. We have organizations that are able to log in at the academic centers to take a look. I'll give you a quick example of where the
Mhm.
paid dividends. One of my clients, and we have clients kind of all over the country, but urologist called me and he goes, "Hey man, I'd like to get a second opinion on this case. Patient would like a second opinion." I said, "Okay, no problem. Where do you want them sent?" And whether it's Hopkins or Cleveland, wherever they want it, MD Anderson, doesn't matter to me. I said, "Okay." But before you do this, man, just so you know, we're able to look at these things real time. And the guy goes, "Oh, that's good news because the patient is a pathologist." And I'm like, "Oh,
He wanted his own second opinion.
yeah." Like, okay. He goes, "Oh, not only that, his son is a pathologist." I'm like,
That's a
okay. And so I was
double
like, "All right,
second
here's what we
opinion.
do. Send the patient, send them my contact info. We'll get together. And I'll get a Zoom going." And so I was able to Zoom real time with him and his son, both pathologists, and go over his slide. And starting at that call, they were determined that he did not want treated. He just wanted to be on active surveillance. By the end of that call, and we were going through all the different features, man, he was ready to get the kitchen sink. He was like, I was like, do you guys still want a second opinion? He's like, absolutely not. And the stuff like that, you're getting treated. He's like, I know, they're kind of going back and forth, but they were like, I had not actually seen like digital pathology transform like somebody, because it would have taken us weeks, to get a second opinion to come back. And then they've got to talk to the urologist and where to go and all the different things. We had it done that afternoon. So,
That is
I
so
mean, that's an
amazing.
in on, but it happens. I talk to patients quite a bit about going over their slides when they just feel more comfortable talking to the actual pathologist.
Yeah, and I've heard this being done on a routine basis in DermPath. I interviewed the CEO of Pathology Watch, and this is how they operate. They like the dermatopathologist, the pathologist, dermatopathologist evaluates the slides, and the dermatologist can show it to the patient on the tablet. So that's like another level of, like everybody gets their X-rays, right? You go walk around with your CD, you're bringing it to the next radiologist or whoever is evaluating you. Nobody does that with pathology slides. Why not? I mean,
That's a great point.
there is
I don't know.
we have the means right now, especially if you then like in the US, the population is a pretty mobile population, so your like health records don't stay in one place. Even so, I'm just now going to a different radiologist for my knee. I just take my CD, right? Because this one is like 20 minutes closer.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait. I don't want to drive 40 minutes. So this like giving different levels of empowerment, and obviously your story is an extreme case because you were talking to pathologists who totally understand the tissue. But this like empowerment to get a second opinion is something that I think a lot of patients are super intimidated, and the process of getting all the materials, even if they're like brave enough and determined to get a second opinion, is even more intimidating. So with digital, yeah, go and have a second opinion. Why not?
Absolutely.
Your health,
Absolutely.
and keeps. I think it just elevates the standard for everyone.
Sure.
So digital makes that possible.
Well, I
So,
think, what's important to remember, I think exactly what you're talking about, but to get it, I'm all in favor of more eyes looking at it. So second opinions, and it used to kind of wrap me around the axle, if we would disagree, because the natural tendency is to think, well, you got a second opinion, so the second opinion guy is right. And that actually, there's no studies to back that up. It's just the most recent opinion. And so everybody's like, what's the second opinion? Actually, it's just another subjective opinion that is being rendered on a very small amount of tissue that's been sampled. And so to your point, like finding a way to remove, what we're really trying to do is get to the meat of the question, right? So is it good or is it bad? That's from a cancer standpoint. Where are we in between? So finding ways to insert like purely objective data into that space, I think that's really where digital pathology is going to outshine what has been the established standard quo. Like, it honestly doesn't care, right? Like it's operating under the same criteria each time in order to upgrade or downgrade cancer. So I think honestly, I think that's going to disrupt the space when it comes to second opinions. At least I'm kind of hopeful. Not that I have anything against second opinions, but I think we can do better. Maybe we get a second opinion that also includes artificial intelligence interpretation.
yes, and I can. So I'm gonna link to another episode. I was talking to Raj Singh from Path Presenter, and he like is super prolific with the Path Presenter software, and like every single like area that digital pathology can improve pathology and care. He has an app for this. Like I don't know how he does that, but he does have an app for second opinion, and there is a specific episode on that, and it's going to be disrupted. I totally second your thought on that. So I assume PathNet helps do that at scale. Jason, what's your take on that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where do you geographically, where are your pathologists serving patients? How widespread are you in the US? Are you also thinking of outside of the US, or?
Alex, we're in about 30 states right now, serving clients in 30 states. And again, to Adam's point earlier, our clients or our pathologists can be anywhere. And, assuming, the time zone is not is not a hindrance. Other than that, it is real time, second opinion collaboration like that, which is one of the reasons, we have such a high cancer detect rate, much higher than the national average. So,
Hmm.
yeah, so clients in 30 states.
Amazing. So you can like set up the time zones of your pathologists and strategically send them cases so that you actually like can be in operation for rendering diagnosis 24 hours a
That's
day
true.
if you play them
That's
like in
Now,
different
now you're
time zones,
talking.
that is the
right?
problem. We like with the digital is that you've got a CEO who's just cracking the whip saying you got to get more of these in and out. But I mean, it's not if you have like if you have Wi-Fi and you're in your CLIA certified space. I mean, there's really those slides are loaded
Mm-hmm.
nonstop all throughout the
Yep.
day and night. So you know, it's nice when you have some downtime and you're like, hey, I can check in and I can just keep whittling those down, keep knocking those down. I can get the stains ordered when the stains need to get ordered, so those can get cooking. So we're constantly trying to drive that turnaround time down. In particular, if we're ordering molecular as well on behalf of the
Mm-hmm.
urologist, because the goal is, like we mentioned before, those are long days. If we can get that pathology report back to the clinician so they can talk to the patient, and then ideally, if we've started that molecular train as well, so that they can get the molecular results back before that patient comes back for their initial post biopsy consultation. I mean, for a
Mm-hmm.
much more robust conversation, it's one thing to say,
Yes.
bad news, you got cancer. And let's be honest, right? That's the last thing majority of patients are going to hear. And so, but if you can caveat that with, hey, bad news, we got cancer. That being said, we work with our pathologist. They ordered these molecular tests, and it looks like this is going to be the indolent type of prostate cancer, one that we can just watch. I'm not terribly
Uh-huh.
worried about that. That's a totally different conversation versus, hey, you got cancer. What do you think? Think we should get
Yeah.
one of these molecular? And the patient, most of the time, are like, I don't know, doc. You think we should get
Exactly. No
molecular?
idea.
And so they order it, and it takes 30 to 60 days to get that result back. Man, those are long that you're waiting on this molecular. And a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot, but 5-10% of the time, it's going to come back and say, quantity not sufficient. There's not enough tumor RNA present. You can generate a result. So for 30 days, this poor patient's been
You're
waiting.
waiting for nothing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're back to square one. They say, well, what do we do? It's like, well, I guess we'll rebiopsy you in, 6 to 12 months and see what happens. Man, there's a
That's
better way to skin this cat. And I think that's where digital can really help us.
definitely. And also like cancer is such a huge, like it encompasses all those entities, and in the like a common sense of this word, it basically is like a death sentence. And if you can, it's still like super loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a pathologist or in the pathologist space, so the first thing when somebody tells me, "Oh, this and that person had cancer," I'm like, "What kind of cancer?" But
Yeah,
you
that's
should
right.
not ask that. It's like an impolite question when somebody
I
dies
do the
of cancer.
same thing, though. I do the
But like,
same.
what kind of cancer, right? So I had
Yeah.
thyroid cancer, and thyroid cancer is like it's not even classified cancer anymore. Like several of these subtypes are just not called cancers anymore. Anyway, so that's my question. But for a patient, it's a totally different reality, and if you can be armed with the information that can actually like lead the conversation into okay, there are different options than dying. You're gonna be fine. We can watch. We can do
Absolutely.
whatever. So
Absolutely.
we mentioned AI a couple of times. Do you guys use AI? Are you thinking of using AI? And how are you doing it or thinking of doing it?
Yes,
Let me
ma'am.
know.
But I'll take the first swing and then I'll let you add a little more color. So,
Yeah.
Alex, we're using AI. We're thinking about using AI, and we're going to continue to use AI. So we have
You're
some
my
great
kind of
AI.
people.
So we have some great AI partners that a little over a year ago, I sat here and I'm like, I'm hearing, and at this point I've been here, not even a year. And I'm hearing, oh, we got this partnership, and as I'm hearing the relationships here, I'm like, teammates, we're giving away a lot for no reason, whether that being access to our platform, whether that being access to our doctors and all that. And because what clued me in was the thought that, those algorithms do a lot. And again, we are partnered with several folks that we like what they offer, but the reality is you have to have access to digital tissue for those algorithms to run. And then I realized,
Yes.
like, we are in a much better position than most laboratories in the country because, I mean, we're sitting on millions of digital tissues of standardized data right now, so just think about that. And so what we have done is we continue to kind of push the envelope with some of our AI partners and make sure that they know that we are bringing just as much to the table, if not more than they are. And that's been a really, really fun and exciting year for us this past year. Adam, do you want to put a little more meat on that bone?
Yeah,
If you can
I mean,
mention the partners, that would be great. And like walk me
absolutely.
through how you set up a partnership. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, from our standpoint, on the I mean, you have three main types of artificial intelligence. Everybody says, just like you said, cancer, everybody says cancer, but actually,
Everybody
like it's
says AI
important.
and
Yeah, I'm from an
same
AI
type of word.
standpoint. You got, three main types. So you got diagnostic, which is what I think most people think of when they think of AI.
Yes,
And
and
that's
that's what they're afraid of. That's like, oh, it's gonna take our jobs away,
right,
and is it gonna be as good as the doctor or not?
right.
And how will we check? Because it's gonna be diagnosing us.
Uh, and I understand that, but but I don't necessarily subscribe to that fear. I think there's always
Mhm.
going to be a pathologist engaged. I think AI, particularly on the diagnostic side, is
I
going to make
think if you have enough like understanding of the technology and the way these tests works, even the diagnostic ones, which are computer aided diagnostic and not like standalone diagnostic, then the fear disappears. But and I was like getting semi annoyed at conferences when I get this question when I speak again and again, and I'm like, we're beyond that point, right? But then at the same time, there's more and more people joining this ecosystem. So that's their first encounter. So kind of naturally, they have the same questions that we might have had when we started learning about this. So I don't get annoyed anymore at that
I
point.
mean, radiologists went through the same thing.
Right.
So we should have radiologists. We always will have. Same with, I think, pathologists. But it does, um, it is nice to have a second set of digital eyes to look over everything that you've already screened, just to make sure nothing has been missed, particularly on on the edges, on the shallow pieces. We're just human like everyone else. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather it be overly sensitive, which is what it is, and less specific. So I can screen through a lot of, intraprostatic ejaculatory duct that it's highlighting because it looks ugly, which it does look ugly, but obviously we're pathologists and we can screen through that. They know, I see what you're looking at, but I'm not worried. So we use Aeromatrix right
Mm-hmm.
now for the diagnostic side. What they have coming down the pipe as well, I think is really going to help augment and change. Right now, because we're digital, we're able to exactly quantify the amount of tumor volume over core length. It's no longer an estimation. From a
Uh-huh.
pathologist, looking from dot to dot and just eyeballing it, it actually quantifies
So
because
did you have to like report the eyeballing? What is it part of a prostate cancer report? Like how much,
well, you always tell what percent in core, right? Like, so it's a three,
like
four, seven.
visually?
Yeah, that's how you would used to do it, right? You would
Okay.
just look, you would put a
Thank
dot
you
on
for
one end.
using a quantification tool.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I think that's fantastic. But there's still lots of other areas within the prostate cancer space where it's still eyeballing, like
Mm-hmm.
on 347s, 437% pattern form. How much of that, is it 5% or is it 40%? Well, with the new Aeromatrix platform, they're able to give you exact numbers. They're able to look at things like on your high grade cancer cases. Even though it may be 90% traditional athener, there may be a 10% neuroendocrine or small cell component. And so you have to screen for those patients moving forward. You have to treat
Mm-hmm.
those patients differently from a chemotherapy standpoint, platinum-based chemotherapies versus traditional. So all of this is stuff that we've never really had access to in the past, where we've just been kind of pigeonholed to what we're able to report. But the AI, I think, is going to be able, on the diagnostic side, rather than just say, hey, by the way, this is cancer, it's also going to be able to start helping us quantify what it's looking at as far as worrisome features, whether that's signet ring, like we talked about, quantifying the amount of perineural invasion. We've never been able, we just say perineural invasion plus or minus. But there's going to be an opportunity for a lot of robust studies moving forward based on the AI-driven data.
So I am, I like wanted to ask exactly if like how much of this guesstimation with eyes that you're doing and working on prostate cancer, because I'm personally allergic to this way of evaluating anything quantitatively with your eyes, which is like I know it's physiologically impossible. When you look at the literature, like the amount, like the difference that needs to be present in the image for a human eye to quantify it is around 25%. So like everything that you quantify in smaller increments is inaccurate because of biology. And yet I think it's a systematic misconception, also an incorrect way of validating, especially quantitative tools against a pathologist, because like I remember for PDL1 evaluation, I took part in that for like one research project, and they were basically like giving you some other pathologist evaluations, and you had to like learn what they were evaluating when you were far away from them. I'm like, how are you even learning this? This is like, it's stupid. So I'm semi-allergic to that particular thing of visual guesstimation. So yeah, AI, image analysis, and quantitative tools, and I'm a friend of, especially for this. And moving forward, because we don't know, we never had the chance to know how important this information is. It was like there as kind of a descriptor of something, but you never could mine it in a way that gives you path forward. And now you have this data, it's quantified, and you can take it and check if there are any patterns, any like different paths forward. So this very feature of AI I'm a fan of. So okay, this is the you mentioned 3 types. We talked about diagnostics.
So yeah, you've got to convert the slide into a digital image before you can have access to any of this, right? And so you've got to get off the sidelines and into the game. So now we're in the game. We've got the digital image. We have a diagnostic AI. I'll just talk to you about some of the features. There's tons of other, whether it's nuclear density or morphology, and stuff that we've never had the opportunity to actually explore, but it's going to tie into the other 2 types of artificial intelligence, and that's predictive, as far as the AI being able to predict who's going to respond to a certain targeted therapy, and prognostic, as far as being able to evaluate the case and say, hey, based on what AI is looking at, we think this patient would be safe to monitor, or they need to be treated. Where AI, I think, is going to far outpace, the human mind, would be there's going to be certain characteristics that are definable within each cancer. We're able to only comment on the glandular morphology, but each of those glands is comprised of cells. Each of those cells has a nucleus. Each of that nucleus has chromatin, the actual DNA, the genetic material, and how all of these things tie in together, how they look, is going to have impact as far as being from a prognostic standpoint, a correlative level, to say, hey, we know this feature is correlative to more aggressive disease in African Americans above 60 years old. We know when the cytoplasm looks like this way in Asian Americans, or less than 50 with a BRCA2 mutation, that it's going to behave this particular way. And we've already got AI now that's able to predict underlying genetic abnormalities. So we were collaborative with Tempest Labs as far as using AI to help predict MSI high, microsatellite instability high, just based on image analysis, teasing out features that we can't with the human eye tease out.
I'm a fan of this application as well. I'm like, really, this is something that's
it's going to be
change.
a way that we don't have to burn through any more tissue. We already have the image. What more information can we harvest out of that image that goes beyond strictly glandular morphology, and set that against a quantifiable scale that's reproducible, that is AI? Like it can continue to, and it's only going to improve. So the longer we continue to do this and feed it more data, it's only going to improve. And I think from a pathologist standpoint, so it can help, the artificial intelligence can not only help us identify, the cancer, make sure nothing gets missed, but now that we also have it, it's able to overlay our read as well. So I know Adam thinks this is a 3-4-7. That being said, these features are all correlative to more or less aggressive cancer. And that's really what our clinicians are looking for, is just, they need they're looking for guidance, for help, like based from a pathology standpoint. We don't really care how you got there, but from a pathology standpoint, what do you guys think about this cancer? Is it going to be okay? Is it not? I'm talking purely in the prostate space, but if it's bad, before we put this patient on hormone deprivation and drive their testosterone to zero, and we increase their comorbidities as far as cardiovascular risk and bone fracture and osteoporosis and all of the things, like we know that is not an indolent therapy. Well, are we even sure the patient's benefiting from that? So if we can use AI to help better vector these patients and do it in a timely fashion, these are not 10, 20, 30-day turnaround times. These are turnaround times that are instant. So when you get your pathology report in 24, 48 hours, it's going to become it's going to be inclusive of these predictive and prognostic AIs as well. So I think pathology, since first, like we're about to make radical change. And the space, I think it's impossible to predict where we're going to end up on there, but you can see all the potential right there. But in order to do any of it, you've got to get in the game. And so that's where we're, like the pastor point, we've got our space, but we're happy to share and utilizing the infrastructure that has been built out that, TruCore is relying upon to actually run a business. Man, that you're able to emulate that as well. So we're trying to help as best we can. But.
See, and I think, I recently, a friend recommended me the book And the Price We Pay, The Cost of Healthcare, and like, why is American healthcare so expensive and how to fix it?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of starting to look at it from the perspective, okay, if this is more streamlined, more targeted, if you don't have to run molecular, if you, let's say, don't need to run next-gen sequences because you already have a predicted mutation, and instead you can just do a simple PCR to confirm it, like how much money is this going to save? Like a lot, right? And this is just one application. Then so I think at this moment, with the different quantification tools, there's still like the next step. Okay, all this correlation, data mining, and research that's going to be happening with this data that we, have single instances of stuff that has already been discovered. And how I see it, once this is done, then this is just going to be plugged into the viewing software, and you can have this in your report without needing to be an expert in that, without needing to burden your mind with, okay, is this what kind of demographic is this patient from? No, you look at the slide, you make your diagnosis, and all the other surrounding information is incorporated in what the next clinician is going to get as information. Still some work. It's going to be a cool time. It's going to be super dynamic time.
That more is not always better. Right?
No.
When you've got a urologist and he's seeing 40, 50, 60 patients a day, the last thing he needs is a 30-page next-gen sequencing somatic result that doesn't tell it actually what we're supposed to do.
No.
And that's where I really feel like we can harness that technology as pathologists. It's an opportunity to streamline. It's a bottleneck, right? Every patient that gets seen and biopsied in any of these clinics has to come through pathology. So that's an opportunity for us to kind of level set. And then all the information that comes out, let's focus on presenting that in a clinically actionable fashion. So we're not just giving you information for information's sake, but this is information that you, as the practicing surgeon clinician, you need to know mutation is present, the AI identified it, and we either need to confirm or deny it. Whether you're talking about somatic, deep sequencing and all of that stuff, okay, or is the predictive AI going to be enough? I think to be determined. We're not quite there yet.
It will be enough, but still, even for those who it's a new technology, right? It's good to test. It's good to have years of data confirming. So I'm fine with like confirming the prediction with something, but
Yeah.
something that's faster and cheaper is already like such a
Well,
milestone.
to
And
your point, at least you're not shotgunning out every patient to get this with $4,000 test. You're actually
exactly.
using some vectoring mechanism to be better stewards of the money we've been allocated. So I couldn't agree with you more. We can do better, albeit if we have a helpful hand in the sense of an
Yeah, I
AI
think
or
it
something.
still, requires some imagination, some knowledge of like what the potential is. Um, because always when you start the digitization journey, it's okay, how much is this kind of going to cost? How
Yeah.
much is
Oh yeah.
like there is an investment, like in
Very, very
any
much
new
so.
technology, and without adoption, the next steps are not going to come. So I
And it's
am
not cheap,
cheering.
you know,
No,
and largely not reimbursable right now. So you have to be creative in finding ways to make this thing and make your organization more efficient by incorporating this stuff. But there's no doubt about it. This is where we are going. And I think it's pretty, you're going to be hard pressed to convince me it's not a better way to go,
so,
for the
no, I
patient, for everyone
totally
else
drank
involved.
the Kool-Aid, and I'm like, total bias for finding why it's more beneficial, because there are many.
Well,
Question. So, like, are you engaging with new partners, or do you already have your set of partners that you're working on AI, or how does like working together look like
uh,
from a
So on the
technology
predictive side,
company?
right, we
Mhm.
work with Artera, which is, I
Uh-huh.
mean, they're in the NCCN guidelines now. They have level 1 evidence with a 2B recommendation. Like, it's good.
Congratulations to
Really,
them.
yeah, it's really good. And we were able, right, because we're fully digital, we were able to bring them on our platform. And so instead of having to ship glass flight to their lab in Florida, have it scanned and have, the report, that's going to take 7 days. I guarantee it. So we're able to do it instantaneously because we're already digital. So there's going to be more and more people into that space. And the way we look at this, I don't mean to step on your toes, Vasco, but like the way we look at this is like we can be like the hub, like we're a tool that we can bring all of these different AI companies together because we're the pathology space. And then we can work collectively, collaboratively with our clinicians to say, hey, which of these do you prefer? We can get those ordered real time because, again, we've already made the image. So I don't know, Vasco, if you want to add to that or not, but
I completely agree. My job is to ensure that we have the plumbing in place and the relationships out there. And whenever any company says, hey, we have this new widget or this new tool, my job is to engage them, talk to them, see if we can come to commercial terms. But the most important thing is that our doctors think that it will improve patient care.
Mhm.
So the idea of driving patient care is the thing that drives us. Because without it, then it doesn't really matter. We've had, I mean, more than I could even begin to list, Alex, of people that wanted to partner with us for our reach and our platform and all that. And we're like, hey, man, we looked under the hood, and this is coming from the doctors. We looked under the hood, and this one just, I mean, we could kind of get there, but no, we're not, and
Mhm.
obviously, um, they take that very seriously as well. In terms of partnerships, though, the idea of, let's say, future pathologists joining us, you know,
Mhm.
or
Yes,
pathology,
I want to ask
pathology.
about this as well, like because
Oh, I can wait till then.
no, it's my literally my next question. So you're
Oh,
kind of leading the conversation where I
perfect segue,
wanted it
dude. You
to go,
nailed it.
right?
all right.
But so on, these are questions that I don't get. Like, um, you would not read them in like LinkedIn comments or on my posters. This is not something that people like openly put out there yet. But I get questions like, "Oh, how can I work digitally? I have this and that life situation. I already have this experience. Is there like which companies do I talk to? What do I need to learn? How can I do this?" So and it's not even from people. So I'm gonna turn 40 this year. I still consider myself like maybe transitioning to mid career from early career. Uh, and I like to believe that people that come after me, so younger people, that's going to be their default. They lived through COVID during their education. They figured out ways to do stuff digitally. And me, I'm like, okay, if I ever need to have another job, if it's not a remote digital job, it's not a job for me. I'm not taking it. Right. And I assume a lot more people that are younger than me than those that are older than me would think that way already, is their way of thinking. But I have people older than me reaching out and asking, hey, like, can I work digitally? I already worked for so many decades. Like, I would like to work digitally. So what are the opportunities for pathologists? And is there like a profile of a pathologist that fits this? Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So you mentioned, hey, are you exploring other AI partners and all that? Look, everything is always on the table.
Mhm.
We are always looking for best partners, best clients, always. Okay. So I just want to make that point very clear. I would tell you there is one impediment to going digital, and that is fear of change.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me walk that down a little bit. So as Adam mentioned, and maybe you mentioned as well, Alex, the cost to go digital is not insignificant. Okay. In fact, it's actually more burdensome on our great lab employees. Not
Yeah.
only do they got to do all the stuff they've always done, but now they got to work
Yeah.
scanners and and all that kind of stuff. It is anyone that says it's more efficient in the lab space, they haven't done it, or at least I haven't seen it. So if anyone out there is saying that they're more efficient in the lab space, give me a call because I'd love to hear what you're doing.
Have to learn.
But on the professional side, that is where you get the efficiency. You know, so you know, we have to find a way, particularly if you are a pathology group that you have your own thing up and running and you just want a digital lab solution. Well, we have to find a way to cost share that burden because, again, most of the upside is with the pathologist in terms
Mhm.
of increased efficiency. For example, if you were going to say what a normal pathologist can do our pathologists do 50% more. Okay. So you can't expect to come in and think, hey, you know what? I've done this for 30 years. I know how much I am supposed to make per case, and then apply that same mental model and, kind of compensation to the digital platform. So to me, fear of change is that number one. And that's what's great about the
Mhm.
pathologists that are employed in TruCore because they get it. They have been in there. Some of them as long or longer, as long as Adam there, from the very beginning. And they're excited and see where we go. So if you don't get over that fear and say, hey, this is what I've always been paid and this is how it should work, then I don't think you'll get there intellectually
And this is
because the
a
cost is
great
there.
point also because like uh, it's it's kind of counterintuitive because it also comes from like, why should you be paid like per case? Like what is this unit? Like why is this the currency? It shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. So in this particular time, it's going to be like you say, okay, I was paid so much money per case. Now I'm going to do more cases, but it's not going to be the same amount of money. Like, where's the logic? Well, there's no logic because there's no logic in paying somebody per case. Then you like try to go as fast as possible. And it's not just in pathology, it's the same in radiology. I guess it's the same like in any
It's
diagnostic
all RVU
space.
based. Yeah.
Yeah, and tests that are just diagnostic tests where you pay per test, that's a different story than a pathologist or a doctor interpreting whatever they need to interpret, right? So that's like basically flawed
Yeah.
remuneration model. But it is what it is. So you have to come to terms with it when you go digital and it doesn't match one-on-one anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Alex, the other thing I would tell you is, and I affectionately refer to these types of people as, oh, they're blockbuster, but where they don't want to change.
Mhm.
And we could talk about the compensation. That is one thing, like you're saying on the per case basis. But Adam has told a really good story here on this podcast about what we are doing in terms of turnaround time. And then I think even more important, those internal second opinions, you know, because we offer such tools and a quality of life play, we have access to fantastic pathologists. But the broader point, the turnaround time and the instant access to internal second opinions, but then it's the increased diagnostic information, the increased amount of information that you're going to get by being on the digital platform as we partner with the AI partners we are partnered with, and then as we continue to find even more innovative ways there. So, if you got a good thing, Blockbuster, you've been doing it for decades and you like what it is and you don't want any of the downrange stuff, then I wish you the best of luck. But man, if you want to jump in this space, we are ready to partner with you.
And I think this space is also gonna drive the change. Pathology is being reimbursed, is being done. I don't know how, but it will, because it will not make sense anymore. To treat it like a test that you can run in a lab. So this is amazing.
I like those. I like documentaries and that the History Channel. Like the companies that made America and all the things. One of those was they were doing a special. I don't know if you saw on the Blockbuster, and they had an opportunity to buy Netflix for $50 million, and just forget it. You lost your mind. And they walked away.
See,
how many billion is Netflix worth right now? It's hundreds of billions, I think. It's crazy. So it is what it is. But I think I do want to kind of put stuff as a practicing pathologist and doing all of this. So yes, to your point, Alexandra, like you may read more, but this thing is such a much more efficient way to read that it doesn't feel like. It does not feel like, we always joke, because he's always like, back in the salt mines, go, like, get down there, get like that salt out of there. It's not that. It's actually really nice being able to not have to spend so much time looking for a slide, marrying that to your LIS, putting on the stage, focusing, all of that. All the time you spend just focusing compared to actually what time actually reading the slide, it's crazy. You don't realize it when that's how you've been trained and that's all you've known to do. But when you make that conversion, holy moly! Like you said, Alex, if my next job is not digital, it's probably not the job for me. I could not agree with you more. I don't think I'd go back.
Very much. So I am in the ToxPath space, so toxicology pathology, which is the veterinary pathology support for drug development. You get boxes of slides, and then you have to compare. You look for like your target organ. You always look at all the tissues from all the animals, and then you look for the organ that is being affected by the compound. And if you have several of them, you have to like pull them out of those boxes, put together, compare like different groups, and then mix them so that you're blinded. And I'm like, it's like a day of logistics to look through your target. And now I click and it can sort it. And I'm like, thank you. Even if like AI never touches my life ever, I'm already so grateful that no boxes are coming to my house sent by FedEx or whatever. So this like the logistical efficiencies, also in the diagnostic space, or doing some tests, sharing these things. It's just like, please, I don't want glass on my desk anymore. Like, I want to keep it clean. I finally have a chance to have a clean desk. I like a clean desk.
That's right.
So, one of those little things. But in the drug development and ToxPath space, when studies have like thousands of slides, and let's say you have like even for 5 target, and you have to take it all out, it's like, you have like whole team at CROs being hired to store, and I mean at the hospitals as well, like to sort this in the right order. And then I heard, I saw a colleague post on LinkedIn recently that he was cleaning his desk and he found like some old slide from before he went digital. Like, they're now missing wherever they were supposed to be.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
So, what do you think the future? And we already, we're talking about and expressing our thoughts about it. But like, in a summary kind of fashion, future of pathology, and what would you advise the people who want to be innovative, who want to start doing this and get on this train with us and start making this change?
Let me take a quick swing. I'm going to be repetitive of what I just said, and then Adam, I'll let you close this out.
All right.
In terms of the future, what I would tell you is take the leap. Change is difficult. Change is scary. There's a lot of things. I got a good gig here and all that. But when you think about schlepping into the hospital and carrying that microscope or whatever the case may be, versus what we can offer in terms of quality of life, and then the increased information that we can also provide you, I would just say take the leap. It's been an exciting ride. We've gone down a couple wrong roads. We'll go down some more wrong roads. But in total, man, we are moving across, and it's a fun journey.
Yeah, I think that's great. So there's nothing I'm going to say that, groundbreaking or shattering. I think this is all fairly intuitive. Like that, we're going to have to find ways to work smarter, become more efficient as the number of, like you mentioned, not just pathologists in the U.S., but pathologists in the world continue to dwindle, and finding ways that, digital can actually affect underserved countries and things like that. Like we can become more of a global ecosystem when it comes to pathology. There's no reason we can't do that now, but we've got to find ways to become more efficient to do that. And it's obvious that, the digital pathology is going to be the tool and the mechanism to get us there. I think when you're looking at, if you're a pathology resident and you're watching this podcast and you're like, well, that's awesome. I now have basically, you're telling me AI is going to replace me. I don't think that's the case. I think we are always going to be needed. I think where we're going to become, and this has been in the cooker for a while, is we've known that it's not going to be okay just to say you have ovarian cancer or you have prostate cancer. We're coming down the pipe where we're really going to start defining these cancers by their underlying, whether they're rare pathogenic mutations or microsatellite mutations. We're going to start defining these cancers not just by organ of origin, but also by their underlying molecular signature, because that's correlative to how that urologist or that clinician is going to treat that patient. And so I can see us using digital pathology, AI, to become much more efficient on the front end, allowing us to divert more attention to identifying who needs deeper molecular screening, and then the incorporation of all of that information in a timely fashion into a succinct pathology report, so that we're not overwhelming our clinicians with all this data.
With the text AI, with the generative text AI, that's going to be like another component that's going to shake the space as well. Where I'm super excited about that.
I am too. I think it's an exciting time to be a pathologist. I think this is, there's been a few of these, obviously Burkell, and then we come like immunostaining was a big one. Special stains is kind of a big one. I think this is a monumental leap forward for pathology, where we're going to be able to really start, and it's going to happen one way or the other. So do you want to be on the tail end of it, or would you rather be at the front of this thing, helping to drive and kind of shape what this space looks like and how we're incorporated into the space moving forward? So that's why I'm excited to be a part of this, where we're going right now, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you know what? Just one comment about the being afraid to change and change management being like, this is the biggest obstacle in any technology change, and in medicine especially. But there's another book I read, it's called Mind Magic, the Neuroscience of Manifestation and How It Changes Everything. This is written by James Ardati. He's an MD, a neurosurgeon. And he tells a story like he had nothing, came from a poor background, then he became a neurosurgeon, and then he had this great company, and then he lost everything, and he was at the bottom again. But then he kind of qualifies, like, I was still a neurosurgeon. I was going to be fine. Like, regardless, like, we're still pathologists. We're going to be fine. Like, you can try it. And if it doesn't work out for you, at least you gain some experience, and
Absolutely.
you're like, go back to the microscope. And in terms of like career decision and things like that, it's not that like once you touch digital, you will not want to go back unless you have like a very bad experience, which I don't think is the case anymore because maybe that was the case, in 2018, 19 when I was starting. But now it's fast enough. For me, it's as fast as microscope. There are still pathologists, and like we're gonna be fine regardless.
And we had a
Thank-
ops group commander. He went by Bam Bam Stapleton. Great guy. Actually,
I
one that
love your
passed away.
army names.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great dude. F-22 driver. Actually passed away from myelodysplastic syndrome, but he was still flying the Raptor and post bone marrow transplant, the whole thing. It's just an amazing individual, unbelievable. And one of the things to me was, you learn a lot more from a negative than a positive, right? That's kind of interesting. He's like, what he was getting, paralysis by analysis does you no good. You've got to get in the fight. So the bass goes, we've made the mistake. We're going to make more mistakes, but we're going to learn from those as we're moving this thing incrementally down the field. So, it is what it is. Don't fear and love. That's why most decisions are made. So
Right.
you've got to just get over that fear, get in the fight, and we can help you do that. We're happy to help you do that. If there's something we can, don't make your own mistakes. If you can learn
Yeah,
from our
that's the
mistakes,
best.
it's a much better, much smoother path.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me, explaining like the change you're doing in the digital pathology space. I see you as true pioneers and an entity, like also a business entity, to learn from, to look up to see to learn from your mistakes so that people who want to embark on the journey don't have to do their own. So thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Alex. Hope you feel better.
No kidding.
Thank you.
This is
Thank
your
you,
last
guys.
podcast. We don't
No,
know.
no. We're gonna keep doing it till all the like the whole healthcare is digitized. Still, there is no more digital pathology. Till there's only
Perfect.
pathology like
That's
radiology.
right.
Nobody
Just
says
call it
digital
pathology.
radiology. So
Yeah.
I don't know from which source I'm citing this that only 10% of the pathology departments are actually digitized. It's probably a lot less.
So
So
that was
I still have a lot more podcast episodes ahead of me. So
perfect.
stay tuned.
Thanks for bearing with us on their schedules too. So this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Of
Thank you.
course. Thank you for serving the country.
It's fine.
All right, take care.
Thank you so much for staying till the end. It means you are a true digital pathology trailblazer. So this podcast episode was recorded remotely, but I just recently came back from the Digital Diagnostics Summit organized by Lumea, a company that works with PathNet and with Adam and Jason. And I actually met them in person. And there's going to be a vlog video about it. But if you want to get a sense what this conference was about and why it's worth, there's going to be a playlist link. So have a look at it, and I talk to you in the next episode.